Where have you come from?
There has been a huge rise in illegal crossings across the English Channel from small boats since April.
A record number of migrants crossed the English Channel.
Yesterday, 15 vessels in total were brought to the UK carrying 151 migrants.
Whilst the numbers compared to other forms of migration are small, the growth has been exponential. The makeup of those crossing has been very diverse, but the majority have been Iranian. As one Afghani migrant put it, Afghans would never get in the boats, it's only the Iranians who will do that. Whilst more than 50% of those intercepted claim to be of Iranian origin, the rest come from as far as Senegal, Sudan, Eritrea and Pakistan. Labour MP's response to this was predictable, claiming that a child's death proved the need for open borders and that no human was illegal, and that capitalism was the real problem. And when a parliamentary petition forced a debate on the issue, they claimed that the UK's immigration legislation provides no safe legal routes.
If we do not provide safe and legal routes for people who are fleeing war and persecution, then they will resort to unsafe and illegal routes.
And we need to identify safe and legal routes.
And at least introduce safe passages to prove this isn't actually a dystopian government.
Is to provide safe legal routes.
By failing to provide safe legal routes, the government forces people to use ever more dangerous alternatives and drives them into the arms of people smugglers.
This is obviously not true. The UK receives thousands of asylum applications from people in unsafe countries every year, and provides thousands with a safe place in the UK.
He asks about safe routes. This government has provided almost 20,000 resettlement places. Since 2010, 44,000 children have been offered protection by the United Kingdom of one form or another.
The Secretary for Immigration Compliance had to repeat this a lot.
There are safe and legal routes into the United Kingdom. In addition to the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme that I've referenced, there was also the Vulnerable Children's Resettlement Scheme, the Gateway Scheme, and of course the Dub Scheme. So those routes have existed for the last 5 years. So the safe routes that she describes do exist already. And I will just draw attention once again to the Resettlement Scheme. I've repeatedly outlined the safe passages or the safe routes that already exist.
The opposition also tried to use the death of a child in the Channel to demand that legal routes be opened from European countries to the UK.
I'd firstly like to send my thoughts to the family of Abdul Fattah Hamdallah, who died in the English Channel, a powerful reminder of the gravity of this issue.
How many more people like Abdul Fattah Hamdallah have to die before the Home Secretary creates those safe and legal routes?
Well, safe routes from Europe, I don't think are the answer to this problem, because by definition, people in Europe are already in a safe country, and transporting people from one safe country in Europe to the United Kingdom does nothing to add to their protection.
And he had to repeat this again and again.
France, where these boats are launched, and other EU countries through which these migrants have travelled on their way to the Channel, are manifestly safe countries with fully functioning asylum systems. Genuine refugees seeking only safety can and should claim asylum in the first safe country they reach. There is no excuse to refuse to do so and instead travel illegally and dangerously to the UK. Those fleeing persecution have had many opportunities to claim asylum in the European countries they have passed through long before attempting this crossing. The people arriving in Dover yesterday and today have left from France. France is a safe country with a well-functioning asylum system. And if their principal objective was to seek refuge from persecution, they could easily have done it in France or indeed any of the other countries through which they passed before arriving in Calais. The people making these crossings on small boats are leaving a safe European country, France, having often travelled previously through countries like Germany and Italy, which are also safe countries with an asylum system.
The person who died in the Channel turned out to be a 28-year-old Sudanese man. He had already applied for asylum in France and was rejected as illegitimate. So he stole a blow-up boat and 2 shovels, and with a friend tried to cross the English Channel. Keep in mind, he also had no idea how to swim. When the boat collapsed, his friend was saved, and his friend lied to the French authorities, who then repeated this lie to the British press. The adult advice for such a person would be not to do this. Not good enough, says Labour.
We've heard from the Minister for Immigration Compliance what his solution is, which is nothing to do with me, Gov. Stay in Italy, stay in Greece, stay in France, stay in Germany. That will not do.
Except even if he had made it to the UK, he would have been returned along with 1,000 other migrants who are currently being returned.
We are currently working to return nearly 1,000 cases where migrants had previously claimed asylum in European countries and, under the regulations, legally should be returned there. Already this year, 24 people have been convicted and jailed for facilitating illegal immigration. In July, I joined a dawn raid on addresses across London, which saw a further 11 people arrested for facilitating illegal immigration, and £150,000 in cash and some luxury cars were seized.
Or maybe he was hoping to be part of the 60% of failed applications who were told to leave but never do. When this all failed, out came the tired accusations of racism and blaming Britain.
It start treating refugees detained in hotels or in boats in the Channel with respect, dignity and compassion.
With terms such as the clandestine Channel threat commander contributes to fueling tensions, the scapegoating of asylum seekers and indeed racism.
Frankly lacking in compassion.
Facing a UK government intent upon enforcing upon them its hostile environment. So can I ask the Minister, do either of these things give him any shame?
And isn't the truth, Mr. Speaker, that the government's approach to this whole issue has frankly been defined by a lack of compassion and a lack of competence?
The inconvenient truth, of course, is that Britain has long played the role of agitator, making worse global crises that destabilise regions and displace people.
There is nothing improper about seeking to police our country's borders, and this government will not apologise for doing so.
I don't know about you, but I find this stuff infuriating to watch. Everyone can see that these migrants are in the wrong. The blatant truth of this is why so many members of the public were outraged by the relatively small amount of illegal immigration. If we can't even stop a petty naval invasion of southern England, why would we have any trust in the government to control immigration? And perhaps even more depressing is that all the opposing parties to the Conservatives agree that we should not even try to oppose such criminality.
The French authorities have clamped down a great deal on the sale of these vessels, so some of the more organised criminals now seek to procure them not in France but in other countries elsewhere in Europe. But many of the migrants have now resorted to stealing boats and other vessels around northern France, and the French police are working hard to try and prevent that. If we want to make sure lives are protected, the way to do that is to make sure no one attempts these crossings at all.